afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. How was lunch?
Yeah. It's good.
Enjoy your fruit tarts?
Not really.
No? I'm Loretta Neal. This is Priscilla and Somya Jampala. We're here from Carnegie Mellon School of Design in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We're here today to present Papercake, a system to help you learn about, organize, and share your life's important documents. Our project began with a very simple observation. Information is added to your world the very moment you're born in the form of important documents. Right off the bat, you get a birth certificate and a social security number. Then as a teenager, you get a driver's license and a bank account. Entering into adulthood, if you take on a mortgage and you have to keep track of your tax documents. This is where information overload begins to occur. But it doesn't stop there. You might decide to start a family, in which case you have to keep track of your records, your spouse's, your children's, your parents, and possibly your spouse's parents. So it's no wonder that during our interviews, we heard people say that they were completely overwhelmed, confused, and unmotivated when dealing with this part of their life. This is especially true among our target user group, emerging adults, who are the 20-something crowd who are still approaching these major life milestones. What we saw was an opportunity to design something that provides motivation, coaching, and direction to help people achieve their life goals.
During our exploratory research, we discovered that people have different behavioral tendencies that can be visualized on two axes. The first axis of know and don't know describes people's knowledge of what they need to do and what they need to have in order to achieve their goals. The other axis of act and don't act describes whether people actually take necessary actions towards their goals. From this criteria, we came up with 4 profiles. The first profile of shoulds, know but they don't act. These are the people who procrastinate until the last moment to get their passport renewed and then spend an extra $60 on rush processing. What they need is clear action steps and triggers to meet their goals. On the contrast, we have she, who lack knowledge but act anyway. These are the people who collect all their utility bills just because they once heard their mom say it's important to keep them. What they need is to understand the reasons behind their actions so that they don't blindly follow others. That brings us to our sweepers. These are the people who lack knowledge as well as the ability to act. These are the people who already have a lot on their plate, and that's why it's harder for them to manage their life. What they need is the motivation to take the next step towards their goal. Lack of knowledge can have major consequences. Our other teammate, Neal, did not know that US work authorization takes 3 months to get approved. And because of this delay, he accepted a job offer in Singapore, and that's why he could not make it here today. That brings us to savvy individuals who are knowledgeable and self-motivated. These are the people who already know what they want, but they need better organizational tools to manage their life well. In reality, people exist with a combination of these tendencies. A person might be a savvy in her finances, but a should in all other areas of her life. Our design implications from research pointed out to 3 major needs. First was learning. Secondly, people needed better tools to organize their documents. And thirdly, people needed to share things. Also, during our user testing, people admitted that they needed more nudges to keep them on track. All these design implications form the backbone of Papercake to move people into the savvy quadrant. So we designed Papercake, which is a concept based on website and a mobile application to help you learn about, organize, and share your important documents. Now we'll look at how a Papercake could exist in the context of someone's life.
need a tissue. So now that you've seen how Papercake works, let's take a look at some of the reasons why Amy loves using Papercake. So first of all, what you see here is the activity feed. Amy loves how it's so easy to just take a quick glance and keep tabs on who has uploaded documents to her account. So for example, what you see here is that her bank and her husband Rod has recently uploaded or shared some documents with her. Next, Amy loves using the action plans in Papercake, and that's because it reduces her anxiety before she's about to take the next big step in her life or take on the next goal. And it does this because it takes a big complicated task, like buying a home, and breaks it down into manageable steps. So for her, the action plans are like her personal coach, holding her hand, telling her what she needs, why, and when. And we see that this is useful not just for Amy, but also for the sheep that we talked about earlier, who just need more knowledge about what they are doing. So for example, when Amy first sees this list of documents that's required to buy or to qualify for a loan, you can imagine how great she feels, because the system already shows her all the documents that she's uploaded that helps her complete this step, so she can just focus on getting the 2 documents she needs to move on. In addition, Amy needs to not worry about going through this process by herself, because she can just access the collective knowledge of all the Papercake users via the community tips. The file box provides Amy with assurance that her documents are safely and securely stored. Amy enjoys the efficiency of being able to just pinpoint a specific document in the file box and share it with her realtor or her husband while shopping in the supermarket standing in line, just all from her phone. And finally, Amy has come to appreciate how Papercake is kind of like a personal assistant. While she's busy focusing on buying a home, she didn't realize that her passport is about to expire. But thankfully, Papercake's email reminders let her know that she needs to renew it before her vacation, so she got that done in time. And we see that this is useful also for the shoulds, who sometimes just need that extra trigger to be propelled into action. So it's come to a point where Amy feels like she can't live without Papercake. And it's not surprising, because there's no product out there that's quite like this. Existing solutions are either guidance-based or storage-based, but our concept offers a comprehensive solution, and no one is currently addressing the unmotivated user.
We want to acknowledge, Bill Buxton, that our concept brings up really big data security questions, since we're essentially asking users to trust us with all of their documents. Now, data security isn't something that we can solve on our own. We are only 4 people. We're all trying to solve this data security problem, but we'd like to add our voice to the conversation and pose such questions as, how do you create trust and credibility in a site? How do you instill users with a sense of ownership and duty over their own data? So if we were to build out Papercake as a full-on site, our first step would be to talk to business people about potential revenue models. We'd also then need to take a good hard look at the state of data security with help from experts in the field. So to close, we want to emphasize that at the core, Papercake is not about documents. It's about you and where you want to go in your life. We just want to give you the right tools and then get out of your way. Thank you.
So we have time for some questions?
Yeah, we need a
or
mic.
Comments? You need a mic.
Yes.
I can arrange
I'm a
that.
mic.
There's one here.
Hey, you can go first. I'll go first. Ferris, you go
Ferris
first.
has
I've seen it. I love first. Hello. That was wonderful. It was really brilliant, I've got to say. From the sort of beginning, both I'll sort of mix up stylistic and kind of project idea stuff, if that's okay, because to me it's really important to open with jokes or specifics or questions. You did a couple, had a lunch one, you had a crying one, that was both good. Because if you start with the rehearsed bit, it feels super awkward to me, and I think that's a really important tip for presenting in general, which is like, talk to the actual audience you're speaking to directly this specific audience, not the generic audience in your head, right? So the opening was cool. I thought that the behavioural insight is really well articulated, which is that your information accumulates from birth. It's not how I would have thought about it, but it's an observation I think is really powerful. This is also a solution that intuitively appeals to me because I'm logistically challenged. I can barely get here, for example, without the assistance of Karen and Mike and various other people. And I'm very aware of that, and I have huge reams of documentation on paper which annoy me every time I see them. So that bit I think is really powerful insight. The idea of steps and triggers seems very valuable to me, which is a clear behavioural economics insight, which is that people are not as self-directed as they think they are, and you have to sort of let them move down a pathway of triggers, which is great. I thought your characterisation of the audience as emerging adults was quite interesting, because it is a new life stage in some senses, which is I refused to grow up for quite a long time, and now I'm being forced to by decisions I'm making about family and household. Segmentation was lovely. I appreciated the fact you respected that segmentation is kind of nonsense, that everybody's multimodal in some aspects, but there are clear sort of strengths and weaknesses in different areas. That's cool. The idea itself, I think, is very of the web as it is and will be, sort of the API web, right? That's what the web is increasingly being. It's aggregation and dissemination and not destinations. That thing is sort of over. A couple of last things, I guess. I love the emotional, personal story to bring that into life. And the progress bar is a really powerful, simple thing, which is really, really strong for me. That would help my life a lot. And just the final thing is that there's a number of obvious business models that we could talk about after this, but they're really obvious in my opinion. Somewhere between Mint, Manila, and a bank, you've got an incredibly powerful way to do life stage marketing, affiliate marketing, in a way that's not intrusive but utility-based, or you could just pay for it. And the data security thing, I think also you could... That's not my area, actually, never mind. So, yeah, but brilliant, really well done. Thank you, that was great.
Thank you.
Go on. Bill, did you have a couple of things you want to say? Quickly.
Yeah.
Quickly.
Sorry.
Bill, quickly.
Go quickly. That's a combination term. Yeah, that was it. So first, it's really interesting. Yesterday on the newspaper, in the NPR, there was an interesting story about the majority of NBA players, by the time they reach their mid-40s, are actually have had severe financial issues and perhaps even bankruptcy. It's actually the numbers were staggering. So, and the quick thing would be this in time. A lot of people who are sleepers and shoulds in this domain are in fact super savvies in other domains, and that's what's the distraction. And so all of your stuff is about the individual taking responsibility of doing it themselves. And so what thoughts have you had about, for example, how this works out, that you could set this up at one level of indirection, that so this is change accounting, like your accountant, because they don't handle your medical records, stuff like that. So it's a really interesting thing because there's a spin-off in other professions around the ecosystem. So can you talk briefly about that?
Yeah, I can take that one. It's funny. Again and again, moms come up in this space. People are like, well, I have this, but, I think my mom has that, and I assume that she has it. So it's sort of like the mom is still sort of acting on your behalf in a lot of ways. And so we see the site allowing you to do that, as well as also having your spouse involved, so you maybe have a joint account. You can also act and fill out the file box for your children. So there is definitely collaboration potential. But obviously you would have to really permit that person and think about the permission. Because if you're sharing it with your spouse and maybe they're a gambler and take out all your 401k thing.
And just so quickly for me, beautifully articulated, great idea, and I'm incredibly stressed out now because my passport expires Saturday.
All right, thank you guys. Awesome. Today.